Started when I was 5 years old, only I was memory repressed back then. When you're in REM sleep, they can just bring you there. Rapid eye movement, stage of sleep. That's how they do it. They call it a consciousness transfer.
They can transfer your consciousness into a clone at the cloning station if they have a clone of you.
You don't have to be born into it. You have to be semi-attractive or have some kind of a skill that they want to use or steal from you.
When you don't know what it is, you think that it's your real body. I thought it was my real body, and I thought they were going to kill me. And they do that to a lot of people, give them fear of death. I wake up and I'm standing in the dirt of this arena.
Some people are drugged, so they think that it's a dream, or they're in the astral realm, the spirit realm. Depends on who you are, where you're from. That's what they tell you. And you don't wake up, so it's not a dream. This is how the Illuminati NWO works. They meet at the cloning station. When they go to sleep, they use it for their crazy stuff. You name it, they've done it.
There's a video audio thing called Mind Voice. Some people call it artificial telepathy. People think they have to put suction cups all over the head. No. When you're a clone there, they can just put a chip right in your clone's head and read it like that. Most people formulate things in their own voice in their head. Once you train with this, you can sit in front of a speaker that's dedicated to your own mind voice, all right? Now you can think in your own head a sound, anything. Listen, think in your own head. There was no sound, nobody heard anything, but you put that in your own head, you can make that sound come out of the friggin' speaker. And then you can twist it and augment it, change it, add to it. Then you can add a drum line in the background. You can do this with the aid of this chip in your head as a clone. And then there's visuals. The visual thing is harder to explain, but the audio thing is just that. You can sit in front of a speaker and play your own thoughts to yourself.
They all use me as like the catalyst for like this, they call it the show. They said that I'm like the entertainer there, and it's the most amazing thing how I made a song out of thin air out of nothing. At first, the songs came pretty easy, but then they started to trickle down, so they started to threaten me. So I made more songs, and then they started to torture me, torture clones of me. And they just kept on doing that for years and years and years. After I'd made like the first 20, then they all started coming. Like there's numerous cloning stations, and certain people go to certain ones.
There's two different kinds of cloning. There's replication cloning where it comes up as a baby, put the cells in, make the same person as a baby. There's duplication cloning as well, where they grow you in a big thick tank, fill it full of water. They agitate the tissue sample a certain amount of times, and it grows a fully formed duplicate of you within 5 months.
They said it's mostly maintenance. It doesn't even cost that much. It's just they set it to growing, and then they have to have someone maintain the tank as it's growing.
They have to get like new bodies like I heard it was like every year, but I guess it's like every 2 years, and some people last longer.
The Dulce base has an entire floor devoted to cloning. In Area 51, the underground, they have an entire floor devoted to cloning. A lot of the deep bases, they have an entire floor devoted to cloning. The cloning floor is the one that has the big auditorium and the seating and the arenas. They started doing it around 1945. It was all politicians at first, a government world communications.
Then they got bored in these disposable bodies because it loses the novelty really fast.
So they started bringing in all these celebrities.
All the mainstream artists and all the biggest political people and all biggest royalties go to this place.
They don't realize that it's a contract for the rest of your life. The rest of your life. If you ever have any children, they're included in the contract. They can kill you remotely from the cloning center. If they apply a constant state of pain to your clone, you'll die in real life.
It's a terrible, diabolical, nefarious place. The sex slaves they bring there, they call that Project Muffin.
They run them through these things called MK Ultra scenarios. They can put a chip in the clone's head and implant sound, visualizations, better than computer graphics.
An example, this guy wants this woman, but he's not as good looking as what she usually goes out with. They'll put this girl, when she sleeps, into different situations where she's in a life or death situation and have this guy save her. They can do this 16 different times. Next time that girl sees that guy in real life, from the visual, she will be automatically predisposed to like this guy. Depends on whatever they program in. They can also do it with fear, so that someone will fear someone the same way that they would be attracted. They get the school pictures from schools all over North America. They call it the catalog. They look at the cutest ones, get the medical stuff from them, clone them, and use them for sex slaves.
They make people think that they've been abducted by aliens. They have a set with a fake saucer. It's got a ramp leading up to it. It's small, and on the inside it's all decked out, and they clone people into the place, make them open up their eyes on the table, and they're surrounded by like these alien guys with fake masks on that are all going to like take turns on this person, and they freak out, and then they wake up the next morning, they think they've been abducted, and they have archives of abduction porn. Mark I clone, they call it an organic robotoid. They got more side effects. You're more confused when you're a Mark I. They're REM driven as well. So they don't use them anymore, they just use the Mark IIs. It's called a Mark II REM driven clone. They can only put you into one of these clones when you're fully into REM sleep. The Mark III is a run around all the time clone. No REM needed. They can have it as a set consciousness, or they can do a duality thing. In real life, you'd have to do absolutely nothing and totally concentrate on walking and talking as this clone. You get a double vision type of thing. You got to close your eyes and concentrate. They don't go so good. And Mark IV is supposed to be like top of the line.
They just call it a double. And it's supposed to be just like a person. But the Mark II ones, they don't last. They have to get new bodies like every 2 years, and some people last longer. They get kind of rashy. Different types have different ailments. They'll just throw the old clone in this big chipper, like big, looks like a big garbage disposal, and they just chuck them in there, and they get ground up and go down. They make 20 clones of you at a time, and just set 20 tanks on growing just yous, and then they pick out the best 5 and use them and throw the rest in the chipper.
These creatures are called the Vril.
They come up from underground different spots all over the world.
These things have always been under us. These bloodline families, they're just lizard helpers, and lizards favored them in the past. They used to bring them up gold and gems from underground that they mined, and they would trade people gems and gold, and they would give them animals, children, all kinds of things, and just cart them down tunnels and cages. Some of these things, the Brotherhood of the Snake, Dragon Society and stuff, it's all about the lizards. They come up underneath the underground bases. The underground bases have connecting tunnels underneath of them, and they go way down deeper.
They need a methane oxygen mix to breathe, and deep underground they got sulfur pools, I guess, that make this stuff.
There's 3 types.
There's a 1 to 1.5 foot tall one. That's the Vril type 1.
The type 1s are covered in red diamond-shaped scales. Vril type 1s are real dumb. Little dragons, those are the Vril type 1.
There's a type 2 that is not parasitic, but it's still vicious, nasty, carnivorous. They're all carnivorous.
Vril type 2 are a little smarter.
And there's a type 3 that's 8 feet tall, has a real long neck, and looks like a gray alien.
And Vril type 3 run the previous 2 kinds. These lizards have a unique biological property of their bodies.
The lizards have what's called a proboscis.
It's an ejectable brain and spinal column.
The small ones they use to drone people, because the proboscis on young lizard type 1s, they're small enough to go into an eye and not ruin the eye, because they're supposed to do this to animals with bigger eyeballs, probably friggin' dinosaurs.
They parasite a human's brain. This top cap thing on the top of their head comes out. They can do this once in their life. It pulls their spinal column along with it. The human would have to be restrained or unconscious.
The thing squiggles in through the eye. It does a spiral around the optic nerve all the way to a certain point, and it's driven there by taste. And they said once it gets there, it has the taste of butterscotch. It then starts what they call sweating the quill. The spinal cord stuff comes out of the spinal cord, and it's everything that the lizard is. The lizard's whole body is dead, and it can't go back in. It's one way.
The juice that's in the spinal cord gets excreted out of the tip of this thing. They're parasitic cells. The parasitic cells go into the brain.
The old person's consciousness is gone. The body is absolutely, totally dominated, and the lizard is smarter as a human. Over time, it'll develop a rash. It'll lose its hair.
And they're actually deficient. They're dumber than the original person.
And they mimic human behavior. And it knows that its life is dependent on it mimicking human behavior, so it does really well. Even with other animals, it's smart enough to instinctually mimic the animal's behavior. The drones of 100 years ago erased any existence of these real lizards. From Egyptian carvings on walls, they would smash them. Or books that had anything in them about them, they would burn them.
Atlantis used to be called Thule, Thule, and they had some pretty good technology. Atlanteans used to use the Vril to drone other nations. Lizards did something to Atlantis. They hinted that the Vril tried to drone all these people. They had a base in Antarctica. They abandoned it. Hitler had heard that there was some kind of magic power in Tibet. So he sent an expedition that cost like billions of dollars in today's money. Met the Tibetan monks, the main ones, and they introduced him to the lizards. They told him there's some kind of base on the South Pole there. They showed him on a map. Hitler got a hold of all the technology, started back engineering it, but he didn't get it fast enough, and the Americans and the Russians took it with Project Paperclip, and they started back engineering saucers. The Roswell crash was a man-made saucer. The Russians and the Americans each got different bits and pieces of technology from Hitler. The Americans got the saucer stuff. They might even got the cloning technology from this Atlantean base.
A bunch of billionaires years ago got together and said, we don't want to die, we want to figure out how to live again as clones. So they did that. They put everything that the person is, allegedly, on a microchip and record the consciousness, and then if the person dies that day, they take that microchip, because they can re-record every night, and they take that microchip and put it into either a clone or a real person's body, which has less side effects, which is what they do, and take them over bodily, just like how the lizards do, but with a microchip. The thing used to be as big as a circuit board. They whittled it down so that the microchip is just a bit bigger than an apple seed. The technology is flawed. It's not as bad as, but it's kind of like the movie Pet Sematary. When the person comes back, not the same, and they're all evil and stuff.
You don't even have to kill them. You press a button and they shut off like a light switch. There's no pain, there's no nothing. They just don't want to cease to be existing. They gave me back my memory at age 30. They call it the awakening.
So I was there for 25 years, and I couldn't put it together in real life. They manually, with the push of a button, allow you to remember. So I remembered it all. They had to tell me gradually so I didn't have a heart attack. I got all the info when they thought that I was absolutely loyal to them.
It was like they were trying to show off by showing me what they could do and what they had and stuff.
And they can give you sodium pentothal truth serum into your clone to see if you will talk about them if you're unmemory repressed or unrepressed memory, and you'll be able to remember all the clone stuff. But once you're unrepressed memory, you always remember everything. They can't keep your memory away from you then when they bring you there.
Every time they activate you, you will remember it the next day. And it's not like remembering a dream, and it's not like feeling like a dream. It's just normal as normal. They can give you an injection to make you feel fuzzy so it'll feel like a dream, but it's just normal.
So they only unrepress people that are real ironclad loyal. It also makes you smarter as a clone when you are unrepressed memory. So they wanted me to be unrepressed memory so I could think up better lyrics for songs.
I was planning to turn on them. As soon as they released my memory to me, I was going to be down in the police station, on the internet, something, until they killed me. Because, I can't continue to be going to this place. And I always told them I didn't want to go there. Then they wanted to use me for something called Project Camelot. Well, there was a bunch of kids there, candidates for it. This is a real slimy plan to manufacture a messiah-like figure to lead the Earth through a cataclysmic catastrophe. They were going to have someone attempt to control the population by talking them through a big catastrophe. They were planning on leading people into underground bases and messing them up, depopulating and stuff. I could never do something like that, to see the world play with people's religion and things. In the past, I agreed to do their whole play Jesus thing, but it was a deception on my part because I just wanted to get unmemory repressed so I could tell the world.
For years, I acted loyal to them. I even had to almost give myself Stockholm Syndrome to make myself believe that I liked them because my family members were there. After years of playing friends with them, they told me everything.
And then I was a member. I was never a member. I was always trying to deceive them until the day I could destroy them.
I made more songs than anybody in the history of the earth. They had me doing just about all of mainstream. It became a religious thing after a while.
With how good I did the songs and stuff.
And different ideas for movies, catch lines in movies, and toy ideas. They kept on bringing me back, and I'd come up with more ideas to keep them from bothering me, but little did I know, I was sealing my doom with them, really. I started making songs when I was about 5. By the time I was hitting about 8 years old, they were saying,
what if this kid is like some kind of special religious significance? And then all the religious fanatics started going weird, trying to say that I could be New Age Jesus because it's around the same time and he looks the part.
And they said I'm in the Nostradamus prophecies and picture book. They said there's a picture of me in it.
It says that the next Messiah's initials will be DM. It's a reference in it to King Dawn. First, they wanted me to play fake Jesus for them. We were going to use him to be fake Jesus, but it turns out he's real Jesus, and if we kill him, it says in the prophecies that God will destroy the earth. So they're using that as an excuse to keep me alive. There was a bunch of people there that were saying, well, we're Luciferians, and Lucifer wants us to get Jesus and torture him in the next century. And we'll get good luck and good fortune for doing it. And they call it fleecing the lamb. They included me into some kind of a torture spectacle. They'd chain me up and, man, they just torture you.
And I don't want to even endorse this stuff that they say.
Like, I don't tell people like I'm Jesus or anything. Like, I think that's kind of silly. And it even says in this Nostradamus prophecy that they follow that the Savior of the world comes back and saves the world with truth and sues all of the corrupt lords and performers for legal recompense more than anyone else has in the history of the world. The heads of certain religions, they're kind of united in this thing, and they call themselves the Pharisees. The richest people in the world are the heads of religious sects. They've been getting donations for thousands of years. They've been getting the golden jewels for thousands of years. They're the richest people. Buy people's loyalty and ensure their loyalty with fear of man-made hell, death after death is on. They made a collage of a bunch of different prophecies, the Nostradamus prophecies, the Quatrains, the Revelations, and the Hopi Indian prophecies, Mayan and Aztec prophecies. And they mixed them all together and tried to make some kind of sense of it. These Pharisees, they make the prophecies happen in any way that they can to ensure that religion is still a viable business. They flooded New York using HAARP. They're making rivers go red. They just made that red cow get born, a red heifer cow. They're trying to put it out there in the public now because they don't know what to do, and they know if they take the first step, they might be killed. So they're using me to take the first step. They want it exposed so that the populace will force them to shut it down. You got to ask yourself, there's a bunch of people on my friends list, right, that have taken all of my information and they send it to the government and they say, look what this guy is saying about you guys. Go get him, right? Government does not respond. Then, well, Justin Bieber, little scumbag, he says, somebody out there is saying I got them pregnant. I'm going to quash this right now.
Set the record straight, none of it is true.
Do you know this woman? Her name is Mariah Yeater. Have you ever met her?
Never met
But
the woman.
I told everything about what Justin Bieber is doing out there as clones and stuff, and Motley Crue and all these other people, right? I write it out, and all these people on my wall some of them are fans of these bands, so they send it to them, and they say, look what this guy's saying about you, slandering your name, let's go get him. They get blocked. They block their own fans and ignore. Oh man, it's so funny. So then people come back and they come back and like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you, man. I'm like, yeah, I know, I wouldn't believe me either. This stuff.
I felt bad at first because I was like, I didn't want anyone to believe it, but then I saw that no one was really believing it, and then I felt better.
I'm on a Megadeth album cover, all cut up. It's a picture of a clone of me, all messed up with a skeleton coming out of my chest and Megadeth up at the top. It's not like an honor to be on that cover. They put me on there all cut up, like they slashed me all up as a clone, like, you know, dead in the arena there. It's like a joke on me. I asked them to put me on the cover because I wanted it for the future, in case I could ever get unrepressed memory.
Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, he actually stood up for me. He goes, when you send that letter out, send out a picture of the album cover and send out a picture of your own face.
People look at that and they say, okay, now I got to look into this.
I talked to Britney Spears ever since she was starting her career. Actually, she was being brought there when she was in the Mickey Mouse Club. And, yeah, I helped her make her songs. Oops did it again and everything. And
She said a fantasy of hers was to blow up a cloning station so they couldn't make any more hers. So for this video called Break the Ice, she made a Japanimation video of her breaking into a cloning station and breaking the clone tubes. And they look just like that, 2 on 2, like one on top of each other. They have warehouses underground with them growing people.
Eminem sold his soul to the Illuminati so that he could be famous and, you know, the big label.
they had Eminem on a video there, and he was talking like he had just had a stroke. His slurred speech and everything. It was because, well, they did that intentionally as a joke. He needed to be recloned or go into his next clone.
That's what they go like when they need a new clone. And they'll say that they went to rehab. They'll go in looking all messed up. And they'll come out like 2 months, 3 months later, and they'll look like more beefy and skin color a little different. And they're like, oh, he just ate well in rehab. No. You know what it is.
I don't get paid for this, and I'm not like Ick. I'm not selling a book. Like, Ick makes a dandy profit.
The strange thing was with him, they didn't bring him out to talk to me. They put a picture of his face up on the big screen to talk to me. And I could never tell if these people are being impersonated, because they do impersonate people a lot. I'm not absolutely even positive that it is Ick that is there, because I only saw his face on a video screen talking to me. I don't know why it was on a video screen. That still puzzles me, but Dave said he's down with them and everything, and well, let's say I'm 99% sure, because that whole interview with him and Jesse Ventura, where Jesse was getting all up in arms about him, it was all staged. They talked about how it was going to go at the cloning center, like how it's going to unfold and everything, the whole program.
So there's this song I made like a while back. I kept it on the shelf for a while. Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. Well, watch the video, and I'm the pink bear in it. It's kind of like they always want to make videos and movies and stuff, really a lot with videos, because they don't have an idea what to do in videos as a basis for the video. So they put in a metaphor about the situation, and that is a metaphor of the situation.
First one that I ever did, I don't even want to mention which ones because it sounds so weird this 5-year-old did this song. Anyway, Elizabeth was there and I sang that song Lady by Kenny Rogers for her. Kenny Rogers was a sex slave for Elizabeth, for Queen Elizabeth. He, if he ever talked about it, he would have been killed. So I sang that Lady song to her with the hockey boards in between us, and she was all awestruck, and everybody was like, wow, how did you do that? And I was like, I don't know. Can I go home now? They deactivated me. My cologne fell limp. I woke up the next morning, didn't remember anything.
Alex Jones is down with them. He goes to the cloning station too. He's one of those, he's like a double agent. It's sick. He's only allowed to say, or what they say he's allowed to say. It's comical. They pay for his show. They pay for his TV show.
I don't think he wants to attend. Like, not too many people that are there want to attend.
They keep a lot to themselves. Like the AIDS virus, they have a cure for AIDS now. Magic Johnson, the spokesperson for AIDS in America, he doesn't even have AIDS anymore. They cured him. They told me about it. It's something to do with oxygen. They super enrich your blood with oxygen, and it drives it right out of you. It cures you. But the thing is, the pharmaceutical companies sell so much anti-AIDS drugs that they would lose a lot of money if the cure for AIDS was put out there. This is why JFK died, by the way. And Marilyn Monroe. He didn't want to go. She didn't want to go. They had her there too. They said, we'll torture you at the cloning station if you talk about it. JFK was going to talk about it, the cloning station.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. It is a system that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
Yeah, that's like a big thing. That's why he died. Tila Tequila started to come out and talk about them.
She was there for a long time. I'd contacted her because I'd met her there. We'd talked about disclosing together. So she comes on my wall there and she's talking to me and everything, and I'm like, you gotta tell. And she's hinting and beating around the bush and everything. So then one night, she went on her radio blog and it was supposed to be a pre-recorded broadcast. She goes on and surprise goes live.
Queen Elizabeth, and the pedophilia ring, and the cloning centers. That's right, darling, the cloning centers.
That night she had an aneurysm, or was it the next night? I think it was that same night. After that, she unfriended me on Facebook. Doesn't want nothing to do with me now. Doesn't talk to me. Won't answer messages, nothing. Like, I have it on my Facebook wall. She tells all about it. It was the first time any celebrity did.
They killed Whitney Houston with an aneurysm. She wanted to leave show business entirely. Didn't want to sing anymore, no concerts. Didn't want to be on TV, and didn't want to attend the cloning station to be used as a sex slave.
She made like a big stand. She thought that they were going to cave. She's out in the center dirt, and they're like threatening her, we'll kill you, we'll kill you. And she's like, I don't care, you won't kill me. She thinks that she's like Tila Tequila. She can threaten, and they won't do anything. And Bobby Brown knows about it. He was sitting there in the crowd crying, watching.
Chris Benoit as well. They killed him. Well, he killed himself, but the thing was, they were torturing the hell out of him. He tried to go to the cops. They sent him to the mental institution. Kind of like Tila said. He said, Queen Elizabeth is blasting me into another dimension. And she's torturing me there and forcing me to have sex with her. He said this to his therapist. This is like public knowledge now, though. And he was like, oh yeah, here, take these pills. And he was like, no, really, they're taking me to some place when I sleep. They killed Bernie Mac this way with an aneurysm. He tried to start a mutiny there, saying, we can't have this, we all got to shut this place down. This place is the devil, he said.
He was awesome. He tried to basically save me. Spoke up for me there. He said, we can't be doing this to a human being. I've seen enough of this. This is foolishness. Well, other people started to join in with him. So Elizabeth put a stop to that real quick. They cut him up for hours. And they made everybody sit there and watch him getting chopped. As an example,